So today, we're going to dive into some everyday habits that are, well, pretty sneaky. Some of them even seem healthy, but they're quietly wearing down your body from the inside out. We're not talking about some big dramatic injury, but this slow, steady breakdown that's happening right under our noses.
So let me ask you this right up front. What if some of the very routines you swear by, the things you believe are keeping you healthy, are actually creating long-term problems? We are about to challenge some of the most common wellness advice you've probably ever heard.
All right, here's the game plan for today. We're going to start with what I'm calling the silent saboteurs. Then, we'll basically walk through a typical day, from the moment you wake up to when you go to bed, and uncover all these hidden traps. We'll even touch on some invisible stresses and, most importantly, how you can start rewriting your daily code for the better. Let's get into it.
First up, the silent saboteurs. The whole idea here is that the real damage to our bodies doesn't usually come from one single big event. Nope, it's the slow, steady pressure of just everyday life, compounding over time. And the really wild part is that these habits don't send up any warning flares. You know, your liver doesn't ache when it starts accumulating a little extra fat, and your arteries don't exactly creak as they get stiffer. The damage just quietly adds up day after day for years. The symptoms? They only really show up when things have already gone pretty far down the road.
Okay, let's talk about the morning, because it turns out some of the biggest mistakes we make happen within the first couple of hours of waking up.
We've all been told breakfast is the most important meal of the day, right? But it turns out when you eat it is absolutely critical. See, the moment you wake up, your body gets this natural surge of cortisol. It's called the cortisol awakening response, and it's already pumping glucose into your system to give you energy. If you eat breakfast right then, you're basically dumping a second wave of glucose on top of the first. It's a double spike that really strains your pancreas. But the science shows that if you just wait about 90 minutes to 2 hours, you let that natural cortisol peak settle down. And doing that consistently can actually improve your body's sensitivity to insulin over time.
And what about grabbing that coffee literally 2 minutes after your eyes open? Here's the deal with that. Caffeine doesn't actually give you energy. It's more like an energy loan shark. It works by blocking the receptors for a chemical called adenosine, which is what makes you feel sleepy. The thing is, right when you wake up, your adenosine levels are already at rock bottom. So you're blocking something that's not even really there yet. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, that adenosine just keeps building and building. Then, around 6 hours later, when the caffeine starts to wear off, wham, all that pent-up adenosine comes rushing back to the receptors all at once. And that is the afternoon crash we all know and hate.
The third big morning mistake, hiding from the sun. Getting direct sunlight into your eyes within an hour of waking is one of the most powerful things you can do for your health. And I mean direct, not through a car or office window. It acts like a master switch for your body's internal clock. It tells your brain, hey, it's daytime. This one simple habit helps time your cortisol peak correctly. It sets you up to produce melatonin for great sleep later, and it's just so crucial for your mood and your immune system.
Okay, let's shift gears to the middle of the day. This is where the grind of the workday really starts to wear us down, often in ways we don't even realize.
This number right here, it's a big deal. The research is just overwhelmingly clear. If you are sitting for more than 6 hours a day, you are significantly increasing your risk for cardiovascular problems. But honestly, that's not even the scariest part.
Here's the kicker that blows most people's minds. Going to the gym for an hour doesn't undo the damage of sitting all day. It just doesn't work that way. The real harm comes from those long, unbroken stretches of being still. When you sit for too long, blood flow in your legs just slows to a crawl, and the delicate lining of your blood vessels starts to, malfunction. The solution isn't a crazy workout. It's just frequent interruption. Seriously, just getting up and walking for 2 minutes every half hour can pretty much reverse this specific type of damage.
Now for lunch, when you hear processed food, you probably think of things like chips, cookies, soda, the obvious stuff. But researchers have a much stricter definition. They call them ultra-processed foods, or UPFs. And these are things made with industrial ingredients you'd never find in your kitchen, like emulsifiers, artificial flavors, weird gums. And you might be shocked at what falls into this category. A lot of protein bars, most flavored yogurts, breakfast cereals, and even a ton of those healthy, gluten-free snacks. And the health impact is, honestly, it's staggering.
A huge meta-analysis in the British Medical Journal found that a high intake of these UPFs was linked to a 50%, that's 50, increased risk of dying from cardiovascular disease, and almost a 50% higher risk of anxiety and depression. Why? Because these weird ingredients can wreak havoc on our gut microbiome, which then leads to this low-grade simmering inflammation throughout your entire body, including your brain.
And while you're at your desk, there's another silent problem. Most of us are basically running on empty when it comes to water. I'm not talking about passing out in the desert dehydration. It's this chronic, mild dehydration that just becomes our normal state. What that does is it makes your blood plasma more viscous or, thicker. Think of it like trying to pump syrup instead of water. Your heart has to work harder with every single beat, every single day, putting this quiet but constant strain on your whole system year after year.
All right, let's fast forward to the evening. This is when we try to relax and chill out, but some of our favorite ways to unwind can actually backfire on our health.
This one is huge, especially at night. Breathing through your mouth. Your nose is this incredible high-tech air processing system. It filters particles, it warms the air, it humidifies it, and, this is super cool, it produces something called nitric oxide, which literally helps your lungs absorb more oxygen. Your mouth, it does none of that. So when you breathe through your mouth while you sleep, you're getting lower quality air, which leads to lower blood oxygen levels and totally disrupts the deep, restorative sleep that your brain and body desperately need to repair.
And then, of course, there's our favorite national pastime, scrolling on our phones in bed. This is a double whammy for your health. First, you've got the blue light from the screen, which directly tells your brain to stop producing melatonin, the hormone that signals it's sleepy time. But second, and maybe even worse, is the content itself. The stressful news, the arguments, the outrage. It activates your brain's ancient threat detection center, the amygdala. It literally puts you into a low-grade fight-or-flight state right when you should be powering down. Think about this. Your liver runs on a 24-hour clock, just like you do. During the day, it's an active processing plant, but at night, it's supposed to switch over to storage and repair mode. It's closing up shop. So when you eat a big, heavy meal late at night, you're dropping a massive workload on the liver's doorstep, right when it's least prepared to handle it. And what does it do? It takes a huge chunk of that meal and converts it directly into fat for storage in the liver itself. This is one of the biggest drivers of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease.
For our last section, we're going to talk about the saboteurs that you can't see or touch. These are the invisible stressors that are constantly running in the background of our lives.
This quote, wow, it really hits hard because it completely reframes how we should think about loneliness. It's not just a sad feeling you have in your head, it's a measurable physical condition. The research shows that being lonely actually triggers a specific genetic response in your body. It ramps up inflammation and at the same time weakens your ability to fight off viruses. The health risk is literally comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It's that serious.
So how can we actually measure our body's resilience to all this stress? Well, one of the best biomarkers we have is something called heart rate variability, or HRV. It's just a fancy way of saying we're measuring the tiny little variations in time between each of your heartbeats. A high HRV is awesome. It means your nervous system is flexible, adaptable, and recovering well from stress. A low HRV, on the other hand, suggests your body is basically stuck in that fight or flight mode. But here's the good news. You can actually control this. You can actively improve your HRV. This technique, called the physiological sigh, is like a built-in biological shortcut to calm your nervous system down, fast. All you do is take a double inhale through your nose, a big one, then a quick little top-up, followed by a long, slow, extended exhale through your mouth. Doing just 1 to 3 of these can measurably shift you out of a stress state. It's like a reset button.
So that really brings us to the main takeaway here. All of these habits, they just feel like normal life, right? But their damage adds up quietly in the background. The point isn't to get overwhelmed and try to fix everything at once. The goal is just to start rewriting your daily code, one small intentional change at a time. Your body isn't just a passive machine. It's an incredibly complex system that is constantly adapting to the signals and inputs you give it. So the question I want to leave you with is this. What is one new, better signal that you are going to choose to send your body starting today?